Hello there, Seamus.
Hi, Piers.
We're here again. It's just us two this time.
Wow. Some of the best podcasts are just us two, right?
Just us two, yeah. And some of the best, or some of the worst things imaginable have been done with the best intentions. And I think that's where
Ooh,
we might be going.
what a
We
segue.
just might be going today with this topic. We're going to be talking about the ethical implications of genetic engineering
Yeah, and
as applied
another.
to humans, plants, animals, whatever.
There we are. And this is another episode of the Is That So podcast.
There you go.
Just to throw it in, because
Is
we
that
almost
so? That's
forgot
that
about
name again. Is that so podcast?
Yeah, check us out on Facebook.
All your major platforms,
Podbean,
iTunes, Podbean, the lot. Find us on Facebook.
Yeah, we're up and come and get us while we're hot,
Probably be on Twitter at some point.
Oh, we are on Twitter. No followers, but we're on Twitter. Yeah.
Right. All right. Anyway.
Okay.
So I would like to preface, neither of us are in any way, forget experts, we don't even know exactly how any of this technology works. I have a very vague understanding of how CRISPR works.
Yeah, well, speak for yourself, Piers. I've been saying this for many. No,
Shush.
We're
But we're going to be mainly going to talk about the philosophical underpinnings of this.
Yeah, it's easier to do, so you can't make as many mistakes because they're just our opinions, right?
Yep. Right?
Right.
Good content.
Okay, so we'll start off by talking about cloning, right? It's one of the easiest ones to talk about, right? Is that ethical? First off, is cloning
Just
human
straight
beings
up, is it
straight
ethical?
up? If I made a full clone of myself, would that be ethical to have that living around?
Okay, so it is an interesting point, and I suppose it depends on what way the cloning is done and for what purpose. So there's a lot of strings attached.
Yeah.
Effectively, it's not quite the same. But when you have genetically identical twins, they're effectively clones of each other. Now we don't say it that way, and like differences do emerge over the course of their life.
Of course.
There's all sorts of things that affect your physical appearance, for instance, like from the way you sleep to like the way you walk around. All of that actually affects how you appear. So children who were initially, as far as I know anyway, children who were initially completely genetically identical, they can have physical differences over time just because of the way they carry through life.
Yeah, it's so important to recognize nature and nurture. Like,
Yeah, and what you eat and all that kind of stuff.
if you're hoping for a completely same little clone of you,
Yeah,
it won't happen. A different attitude, like different exposure
life
to
experiences,
situations.
all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, also like you can't have 100% perfect genetics. Like they're not going to be 100% like perfectly the same as you, right?
I think sometimes it might be pretty close. I'm actually not sure though. But I think so. But okay, so for this hypothetical clone, I'm gonna just go say it's gonna be 100%.
100%. Okay, right.
Yeah.
We get the technology to that stage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier that way. So, I guess it depends on what purpose you have in mind for these clones, right?
Yeah, and okay, should we say the clone is born usually through like a surrogate?
Right.
You know,
So it's not a test tube baby.
it's not a
actually
test
born.
tube baby. Well, even test tube babies are born.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah, I
they're in a
suppose,
womb and they come out. Or
Yeah,
should,
it's not like you're just spitting them out of a factory.
yeah, or should we talk about like you go into a machine and then on the other
Well,
side?
no, I think the way the technology will work is they have to be
Okay.
born.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we're a very long way from having some kind of weird technology where you can just manufacture people in a factory.
Yeah.
It's
Well, then you see the ethics are pretty straightforward. They're a child and a citizen,
Yeah.
and you can't treat them any differently, right?
yeah.
Although,
I suppose we would have to outline first of all. I guess ethically, you would have to be okay with playing God, right?
yeah,
Effectively, like that straight away.
it's weird because if you do that, you're not letting people evolve. You're not letting that person, that child of yours that is you, essentially, that will not have the same attitude as you or be you, but you won't let the small deviations in genetic makeup happen. Like everything like strands of DNA and sequencing change like per generation, just like randomly, and sometimes those changes are good and sometimes they're bad, and then that would lead on to reproduction, natural selection,
Yeah,
right? But if you don't let that happen, are you like just responsible for stunting the progress of the human race and just deciding that you're at the pinnacle of it and not letting? Because I can imagine really egotistical generations of families would be like, because that's all, think about the Egyptians, like the Egyptian pharaohs, they wanted to keep their bloodline pure. If you're Jeff Bezos, you want Jeff Bezos to be like, I'm going to have a line of like 100 Jeff Bezoses, because, yeah, exactly.
Man seems to be coming up a lot in our podcast.
Bezos, I mean, it's so easy. Elon Musk's, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would complain about lots of Jeff Bezos.
I
Elon
think we
Musk,
like
but-
Elon, so it's just who's the other billionaire? that we can just kind of use as an evil stand-in. Oh, Jeff.
Yeah, but then, would that mean you are just stunting it and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, but I guess like just from the very way our civilizations work anyway, we have stunted evolution, right? I mean, we're not getting eaten by the people who run slower or who aren't as smart or who are less aware of their surroundings aren't just being eaten by lions and wolves and stuff. That doesn't happen anymore. So our human evolution, it's definitely continuing, but it's different and it's slowed.
I suppose the difference is that's not by choice, though.
Well, it kind of is.
Well,
because we're choosing to live in these civilized societies.
But like that's progress.
Yeah, I
that's progress.
It's a byproduct, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah. Where it's kind of selfless to do that to progress your race, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually selfish to choose to continually just keep yourself and your genetic material there, right?
Is it you though, right? Because
no, it doesn't have to be you though. It just has to be your genetic makeup.
Yeah.
So like you're keeping that there.
That's kind of I mean it's kind of what you're doing when you have children. It's not the same, obviously, but you are that biologically. That's why you want to have children. It's because your genes are telling you they want to replicate themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So cloning them is actually perfectly replicated.
But it's weird though then, because that like would lead to some sort of like mental deficiency in the person that's cloning, right? If they psychologically just want themselves, they must be an egomaniac, right? Because when you have children, you want to, I suppose, do you want to? But like you're looking at the person you're reproducing with, and saying these traits are good in theirs too. Yeah. So like.
Also consciously, of course. This is you're not
hey, that lady, she's got great genes. I want my kids to have blue eyes.
I'm sure there are some psychopaths out there who actually do think like
that. There's some psychopaths out there?
Some psychopaths.
What?
One or two.
Oh God.
One or two.
Lock me inside.
Right. But yes. So subconsciously all these things.
So would you want an egomaniac to reproduce in the same way when you'd have
you're just gonna
egomaniac genes?
Recreate the egomaniac each time. Yeah. It's interesting.
Like, would you let a psychopath have this opportunity to?
If you were building a clone army, you might.
Yeah, where does it like? Do you like? Is it just pure capitalism? Do you let anybody clone themselves? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, is it pure?
Or if you've
is it pure statism? Is the cloning being used as like a state mechanism?
Exactly. If you have a high enough IQ, is it government mandated?
Yeah.
Like, are they able to take you and implant you into thousands of women because they think that's like, well, it hasn't wombs. Sorry, it doesn't. Like, I'm sure it'll get to a stage
where tubes,
yeah, exactly.
Artificial wombs.
Being born 1,000 times just because that will be good for the future of their society or whatever.
Making 1,000 Albert Einsteins.
Yeah, exactly.
Or John von Neumann or whatever.
And I wonder what kind of, especially now, that's interesting, right? If you were cloned more than once,
right?
So you had a clone brother out there that was the same as you. Mm-hmm. What kind of psychological implications would that have for
I wonder
yourself, your brother?
I would think, this is just my assumption, but I would think there would be quite a strong bond, right? Just kind of like twins.
Yeah, of course. Would it lead to you realizing that you're not unique? Or, well, it depends on who it is, I suppose.
It might, but I don't think many twins have that worry, right? And presumably these clones are all going to have slightly different life experiences, so they will be unique in that way. Like they would have experienced the world in a slightly different way to everybody else. So that does affect how your brain functions, how your brain maps itself, your psychology, all of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. But like, if you found the person with perfect, genes to become a soldier, just like in Star Wars with the clones, right?
Yeah,
Clone Wars, like literally the thing. Yeah. Like the concept was that they took someone. It was actually a bounty hunter. Yeah, a perfect killer, right? And then they got him and they, cloned them a billion times.
Yeah.
And then they just raised this army.
Yeah, and removed. The idea there is also they removed his not independent thought, but like they made him.
Exactly, but you could even just find someone that is perfectly collected.
Yeah, you could, yeah.
And so then that leads to misuse of a clone, and like that's the thing. It's like we were just talking about people who want to clone themselves. Like if it's government mandated, who cares if they want to? I have your DNA.
It's in the research bank.
Whatever. I can do it, whatever, and especially if society gets to the point where it isn't even governmentally controlled. It could be just a private organization that wants great workers. you know.
Yeah.
And then there's 1,000 Pierces working on a production line because you know they're mindless and just do the same thing.
Just stacking spuds.
Yeah, just stacking
Stacking
spuds,
spuds.
just listening to podcasts, right?
Listen
And
to
that leads to Is That So podcast. You know, check us out on Facebook. No, it also leads to the point where, as you said, those clones could be genetically modified. So like,
Right.
not
Yeah.
only that,
Yeah.
like they're the perfect whatever, and you want to clone them, like you could completely like remove genes for addiction, or you could add genes for, you know, industriousness or you know, whatever.
Yeah. Well,
And
genetic modification has its whole own implications, right? Because obviously there's huge in terms of humans. So scientists have already artificially edited plants and stuff, and we've been doing this for 50,000 years with dogs. We've been genetically modifying dogs for 50,000 years.
not modifying,
Not in the same way,
selecting
but selectively breeding, right? So
Yeah.
it's a very crude version of it.
exactly.
You're not actually able to go in and pick which genes you want.
Yeah, it's like
So-
hybrid plants.
Yeah,
Of course.
but with humans, you can see that there's amazing benefits, right? You could have everybody with an IQ. If you could figure out the genes, everybody would have an IQ of 200. You know, everybody can run a marathon without even doing any training.
Yeah.
You know, you can jump 3 meters. All of this crazy stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think if you can guarantee that everybody will have these, first of all, that there's no side effects, right? But also that everybody will have equal access to these modifications, then and equal opportunity to use them. Then I think it's probably okay.
Yeah.
But the question is, so what if it's only for the rich, or what if it's only for, you know, if it's very expensive, or what if it's only for some kind of weird government program where it's like they need scientists? So
Like in Superman, not to bring up another movie, but like one of the premises of Superman was that like he lives in a society that was everybody was genetically modified. Oh yeah, we live in a society, brilliant. Genetically modified to have a specific role, like you know, an economist or an architect or
is
whatever.
that Superman?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
missed this.
yeah. And then he was born out of that, so the parents had him
Oh yeah, his
without being
yeah.
genetically modified, and then they were like, "Oh, what is this kid?" And then they sent him to Earth because like the planet was burning down.
Oh, yeah.
But like that would be a thing where children would you have to go to a cosmetic clinic that would be like, okay, now what do you want to have? Do you want your kid to have ginger hair? Do you want your kid to have to this, that, or the
yeah.
other? Regardless of it being, I think that'd be the first step to creating soldiers.
There's just
or
a whole
whatever.
other interesting branch there as well that we can cover, because so what happens if some parents opt out and they
Yeah.
decide they don't want their kid, right? So
And their kid is small and it doesn't have blonde hair and blue eyes.
It's more prone to genetic diseases. You know, it's more prone to say asthma, for instance, and
Yeah.
like the rest of society is just whatever.
Yeah, so it's some sort of freak, you know.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
actually like.
But
this
it's also just going to find it much harder to compete because everybody else is 200 IQ and can sprint up mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also yeah. That's a really weird and interesting moral area do you give people the choice, or do you tell parents your kids have to get this because it's a moral imperative that they get this? Same way with vaccines.
Yeah, because I think it'll get to the stage where it'll be like, wow, I can't believe they did it so crudely back in the day, where they didn't understand, like, or they didn't have the opportunity to actually just, you know, have a great child.
Yeah.
That there was so much probability of it going wrong. I think it will get to that stage. Like,
Yeah, well, it's the same way most people today look back and think, wow, it's pretty rough that they didn't have vaccines 100 years ago. You know,
Yeah.
just going to die of smallpox or something.
But it's like, oh, I can't believe they just had to love their child because it was their child and not because they created a person that they'd actually like. you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I wonder how that technology would work, right? Will it be
Effectively.
Yeah, but so when you're modifying these genes, could you actually are you just putting in new genes and so you're creating a new person, or are you just amplifying the traits that the parents already give the child, right? So say if your parents are intelligent, and then that's a gene that expresses itself in you anyway, do you just boost that somehow? Or
Do you even need to use the parents' genes? Is the question, right?
Is it even your child?
So
then at that
yeah,
point, right?
exactly. So you just go to the clinic and they have a catalog and they join all these strands of DNA together.
Right.
If it gets to this stage, that is, and they can just choose the traits that you want in a child from hundreds and thousands of parts of DNA and like reproductive, I don't know, cells from other people, gametes or whatever. And then they're like, okay, well, this is what your child's going to look like, without even having the parents to to, I don't know,
Yeah.
because like it'd be like, okay, it's like starting off, I don't know, like it's like fixing a tattoo that you have, like you want it to turn into something else,
Right.
or it's
Yeah.
like just completely drawing a new tattoo.
Yeah.
You know, they can just go all over it. I think they'll get to that stage. And yeah, is it your kid? Probably not. But does it matter?
Yeah.
Again, probably not.
Or I wonder, can you like can is there? I wonder, do you have to change that many genes? It could be that you only have to change because there's so many genetic code, so much genetic code in your
Yeah.
body. It could be that you only have to pick a select few. Like, okay, this this one particular piece of code in your genes makes you immune to cancer, say,
Yeah.
for example,
And they just take that.
this one makes you really fit and gives you lots of both fast twitch and slow twitch muscles, and this one makes you really intelligent and makes your brain operate on more
Yeah.
efficiently. And I wonder, would it be possible to just edit a tiny few like that reap massive benefits, but you still, most of your genetic code is from your parents still.
Maybe. And then the question is it worth the process of making mistakes on that, right?
Yeah.
Because you could take out that one that gives you cancer,
Yeah.
but then you just end up like with no joints that can move. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
this-
we're not certain, and I'm sure maybe in time we will become certain.
I guess we're kind of, yeah. I guess I was thinking in terms of we're discussing, we've gotten through all that.
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
But there's also a whole
The
interesting
process,
period
of course.
that where we're trying to figure out what happens when you edit these genes. Obviously, they're probably going to do tests in mice first and fruit flies and that kind of thing, just to see how
Yeah.
it works. But it could be that, okay, you make people immune to cancer, but suddenly sunlight kills them or something weird.
Yeah,
like that.
you absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
Or like the neurochemistry when the child comes out could be crazy, you know, and they've
Yeah.
no idea. Because I don't know. There's something primitive in us that can recognize the human evolution within us. You know, we understand and are connected to things around us because we understand life itself. But if you're not conceived like naturally, maybe you wouldn't even be able to do that. Maybe your perception of life would be completely different because you just see everything as as like completely. You're not connected to it because
Yeah.
you maybe I
I
don't
guess
know.
it depends on the person, though, right?
You might feel closer to technology because that makes sense. You know, because you were
Yeah.
chosen systematically.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people feel closer to technology than nature these days, anyway.
Yeah.
So, right? I think we're there already.
Yeah,
in
it's
terms of
interesting that.
But and we seem to have adapted pretty well to it. So
Yeah, and it'll get to the stage then as well, like where people will be, for different sports and stuff. They, uh, it's like if you want to watch wrestling, you know, there'll be like 12-foot giants, and then giants will exist in the world. You know what I mean? And where's their place?
I look forward to that.
Ah,
That'll be cool.
Yeah, I absolutely look forward to that. But then, like, are they humans at that stage? Because you've created something
right,
different,
right?
So, and then people will be used as super soldiers and weapons, and then actual humans will be. I don't know what they'd be viewed as. Maybe.
Well, I reckon if we've that kind of technology in terms of soldiers, that's probably going to be robots, right? Because if you have, I'm just assuming here, but if you have the level of technology where you can make all these crazy humans, you can probably make robots that can just punch through walls and stuff. So
Yeah,
whatever. But yeah, it's still an interesting point, though. Yeah.
it is. It's especially for sport. Imagine being created for sport. Imagine your
you're built for
like
sport, like,
it's
yeah.
different choosing.
But that's
sport.
the thing. Everybody could be. It might not be the case of just one person. It could be that everybody has those genes amplified in them. So everybody can just be really.
Oh, I think like there's human limitations, right?
Right.
So you couldn't be great at everything. You couldn't. Right.
Why do you think that though? Like, what's the barrier? Do you think that's preventing?
Just like human anatomy. Like you couldn't be the most agile person in the world if you were 12 feet tall, right?
That's true. Yeah. So most
So, like-
gymnasts are like. I think I heard the average height for gymnasts is like between male gymnasts is between 5'4" and 5'7".
So if you want to
yeah.
do professional, I don't know, car curling, when you're a 12-foot giant or whatever, you're not going to be the most agile. So then you wouldn't be created for a different sport. You can't be great
true.
at everything, and it's the same. It's going to be the same mentally as well, right?
Yeah. Right.
Like you could be a 12-foot giant and still be, great at maths and stuff like that. But I don't know. Maybe there would be limitations just as the physical ones.
Yeah. I suppose the amount of energy consumption as well, right? That your body takes up.
Yeah.
But again, we could probably just develop through genetic engineering, develop foods that are just ultra dense in protein and all that.
Yeah, we could. Well, we could genetically modify ourselves to be like silverbacks, and just convert like what is it? I think it's like 90% of their fuel into muscle. It just does. Like
Interesting.
that's the way. Like silverbacks just eat vegetables, you know.
And they just get
And
huge
they're
on vegetables.
huge, you know. And well, they eat a lot, but like it's just their metabolism works in a different way,
Right,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But it wouldn't be evolutionary advantageous for us to do that, but it might become, you know, advantageous to do for our actual genetically modified world that we're going to live
Yeah,
in.
yeah. And we should say are going to live in, because it does seem like this is coming, unless there's some major
I think
catastrophe.
China are doing a lot of like genetically modified children at the moment.
Probably on the DL, yeah,
Yeah,
on the down low, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I think I read an article about it, but I think they are.
But I mean, like, so many labs are doing that on animals already, so you know the technology is there for sure. That's why I personally I reckon there are people who are clones who don't know it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would think so, because
It's a bit of a
technology
conspiracy theorist, but
right.
yeah,
Yeah. This is one of the few conspiracy theories I have, and I don't think it will be many people. Maybe they do know it, but you know the technology to clone things has been around since the 90s, I think.
Yeah.
You know, when was Dolly the sheep? Was that the 80s or the 90s? It was a while ago at this
I
stage.
don't know. Yeah.
So, yeah, there's probably are a few people.
And then there was a sheep that was born in an artificial womb there,
Yeah.
wasn't there?
Yeah.
I believe.
The Russians are thinking about bringing back woolly mammoths to help solve climate change.
That would be unbelievable.
Right.
I don't like.
Right.
I don't care honestly. Like I love like the idea of like fixing climate change. But if we had woolly
Just
mammoths,
woolly
I'd be happy
with
enough.
that,
Yeah.
I think the idea is, so they have woolly mammoth DNA from a mammoth that they discovered under the ice, or from a few different mammoths actually, because they discovered a few of them. And
Yeah,
they
it's
mixed
sure
it
that in the bog, if they were in the tundra, they'd
Yeah.
just be
Yeah,
perfectly
Oh,
preserved.
literally, you should see the pictures. It's just a frozen mammoth.
Oh, really?
It's amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think it's a baby mammoth, but
Ah.
their closest living relatives are Indian elephants. So you would mix that with Indian elephant eggs.
Eggs.
Well,
Sorry, yeah.
yeah.
For some reason, there, I was like, Indian elephants do not
Just
lay
lay
eggs.
eggs.
Like, imagine like a big Indian elephant bird just sitting on an egg. No.
So I guess that might be like Jurassic Park, in that in Jurassic Park, little, or it's kind of an overlooked thing, but the dinosaurs aren't purely dinosaurs in that movie.
Disney
Or in the
will
book.
bring back dinosaurs,
Dinosaurs,
just
no-
for
no
a
doubt
Jurassic
about it.
Park.
But you know what I mean? Like, so the mammoths might not be fully 100% mammoth. There might
Yeah.
be some percentage Indian elephant.
I wonder what impact that would have on a lot of like religions in the world.
Oh, I mean, it's going to be like discovering alien life. It's going to just throw a big curveball into it.
You could like, apart from choosing what kind of humans you like, mixing species would definitely be like
Yeah.
a way to do it, right? Because you could take even like, I know there's a huge difference between plant genetics and animal genetics, but mixing advantageous traits of different animals into human DNA, that would be
Ooh,
so.
yeah.
That would be.
It's photosynthesis.
Oh well, I'm not sure that there's the huge crossover between
Yeah.
animal
Well,
and
also
plant.
those cells are just less mobile, so it's harder to move, that kind of thing.
Exactly, but say night vision,
Yeah.
right? If we could
Yeah.
do that,
Yeah.
what kind of
Echolocation.
yeah, but even like the philosophical implications of, you know, the first person with night vision, or the first lab that says, all right, we're gonna give someone echolocation.
Yeah.
You know,
I would actually, but before we go on, I actually just want to go back and cover that point about the mammoths.
Oh,
'Cause
sorry,
I think
sorry.
people. No. 'Cause I just thought of it in retrospect. People are going to be really confused. How the hell are mammoths going to fix climate change?
oh yeah,
So basically, the issue is there's an issue in Russia at the moment that there's lots of plants, shrubbery, and trees growing up in northern Siberia where they didn't used to grow up, because there used to be what was called megafauna, which is like really big animals, like
Yes.
huge bison, elephants, mammoths, that kind of thing. That used to just, the huge herds of them would just trample and devour all of this food. But these plants are growing, and they're providing, they're trapping heat just by being there, and that's starting to melt the permafrost. And there's loads of gas and potentially frozen diseases underneath the permafrost in northern Russia. And so first of all, the gas will get released into the ozone layer, do damage to that, accelerate climate change. And also, if there's some weird primordial diseases in there, they could just ravage Russia. Well,
Yeah.
And outside Russia, obviously, since we're such an interconnected world now.
Yeah.
So, and Russia just doesn't have the budget, or frankly, our technology just isn't advanced enough without just, you know, bombing the place, which won't help, because you're
Yeah,
right up there either, to cut down all these trees. So the best way they've come up with it is, well, we'll just reintroduce mammoths and destroy all of the.
They don't have the budget to cut down trees, but they have the budget to genetically.
I mean, I guess it's
engineer
in
mammoths?
cases you have to pay hundreds of thousands of workers to go up there with chainsaws and just tear it all down. Whereas if you just get a load of mammoths who just do this naturally and doesn't
Yeah.
cost you anything, you just breed a load of them, drop them out there, and they'll just start eating plants and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit of a harebrained scheme, but I love it. So
Yeah, I mean, it's something only the Russians really would
exactly.
come up with.
I absolutely love it.
It kind of like it's very interesting because it's coming into the domain of reality where we can eat meat that is just built in a lab as well. You know?
Yeah.
So that's like perfectly
With
ethical,
no brain
right?
attached.
And then even like the extinction of animals won't be such a big deal if you can resurrect them, like you say you can.
Yeah.
You know,
as long as you have their DNA. You know, you couldn't resurrect a T-Rex as far. Although I think they found T-Rex DNA recently. But there's a lot.
Stop.
I want that badly. But it's if you just have dinosaur bones, you couldn't do that because first of all, it's very hard to mix them with any living relatives like you would with the elephants. But also the DNA usually decays after 40,000 years, I think.
Okay.
Or that actually might be carbon dating I'm thinking of. But it's pretty rapid. Like DNA doesn't stick around that long. So unless it's trapped in ice, like the mammoths, or amber, which is how to do it in Jurassic Park, and they've actually found some dinosaur DNA from mosquitoes in amber, like mosquito-like organisms. But anyway, sorry, what was your point there a few minutes ago before I came back to the mammoths?
I don't know.
Listen.
It's about. Oh, was it about mixing animal DNA?
Yeah, that was it exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think we finished up on that one actually.
Well, yeah. So, but the ethical implications are interesting there too, right? So, as you're saying, you can.
Yeah, talk about racism, right? Like there'll be speciesism or like stuff like that where the lines between humanity and animal kind are completely blurred.
I wonder.
And I think people. Yeah. Sorry, I think I don't think it'll be the case where everybody has everything. I think it'll be split up into things where like, all right, these humans or these whatever hybrids are good at doing this, so they'll be doing
it's
this.
Like a caste system, effectively.
Yeah, and
which is scary.
Also, like before it comes to that, I think it'll come to humans being born and immediately implanted with electronic devices. So
well, yeah, that's 10 years away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why would you give a human like fly eyes or whatever, or like bad eyes, if you could just implant them with a device that, or it just lets their eyes?
It's interesting because the way I would have thought it, you obviously it could. You were saying it could result in speciesism and new kinds of racism and stuff.
Yeah.
And it definitely could. But like the way I was thinking about it, it also has the potential to eliminate that because the last racist arguments will be wiped out. It'd be like, oh, there's genetic differences between different racial groups.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. But you can just eliminate that entirely. So like the last gasp of racism might be when genetic engineering finally comes into play. If it's applied equally, that's the issue,
I don't know about that though, because like between groups, some groups won't even want to look at them. There'll be a lot of like yogis just sitting around who are like the smart people,
if it's
right?
applied equally, right?
Oh yeah, if everybody is the same level of genetic engineering.
So what could happen is racism might disappear, but then you could have a new kind of bigotry where it's like people who don't get genetically modified and people who do get genetically modified. There's a tension there, right?
Yeah.
Which would seem like there would be much more reason for to be tension there than there is for any racists today.
It could also lead to our ultimate demise.
Well, yeah.
Where we could genetically modify ourselves too much and I don't know, like push the boundaries of our anatomy so far that we eventually just.
I wonder though, because there are 7 billion of us, right? So, and presumably you're not doing it all instantly at once. So if it doesn't work, you'll realize that, and there'll be a lot of casualties, but the species as a whole will still be there, And look, obviously there will always be people who reject this kind of thing. So you still have a few clinging at the edge.
I think
rat people.
Yeah,
at the edge of the cities.
Exactly. They'd be like, oh yeah, and they'd be viewed as crazy people.
Yeah. They'd be
like, oh look, don't look at those, honey. Like talking to the little kid, but they'd be the actual humans.
It's like the
ones
way
that try and survive.
Few people live in communes today or whatever.
Yeah,
hippie communes, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's crazy. And then it would destroy a lot of points of religion, that we were created and the image of God and stuff. It would definitely bring up a lot of arguments saying that we can't play God.
Yeah, because then you would have the opposite argument of no, God gave us these brains, so he intended us to, or whatever gods or gods intended us to take this path and that, right? So I'm sure
Yeah.
you'd have lots of internal divisions of
Yeah,
religion
everything
where it's
happens
like,
for a reason. God does everything for
yeah,
a
exactly,
reason.
yeah. So you'd probably, I'd imagine, I don't think it would destroy religion. I think it's going to be very, very hard to ever actually kill off religion as a thing. But I could see a lot of the institutions splitting, having major ideology, like Protestantism and Catholicism.
Yeah.
Something along those lines, you know. I wonder which religions will be affected most by it. For some reason, I don't know why, it just could be my bias, but I suspect the Abrahamic religions would have a good bit of trouble dealing with it.
Yeah, just the God's image thing.
Yeah,
Mostly
yeah.
because they all accept
I
that.
think Buddhists would largely be.
Yeah, and Hindus are like, oh well, now they look like
no.
whatever. Now there's actually people with
I
six
look like
arms.
Ganesh.
Can be taken Ganesh standard. But yeah, I think it could actually, now thinking about that, if they really could, maybe it would remove the racism, because I think people would have objective thought about, even if they were different, right? So people would understand objectively the hierarchies, right? Whereas a huge problem with racism now is that, like racist people would be like, okay, well, I'm smarter than black people, or I'm more strong than Asian people, whatever,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So that's where the prejudices and biases would come from. But if you're looking at the graph and be like, well, like this subset of the human species, the ones with Jaguar DNA or whatever, or like they're clearly the most agile. You couldn't claim it, and there couldn't be any racism. There could be just objectivism, right?
Yeah, it's just like, yeah.
So
yeah.
that would wipe it out, and you couldn't be like, oh well, You could understand that there's differences.
You would have, I guess, it's the same problem you would have with transhumanism, right? If people were against it. So it wouldn't even be necessarily racists, it would also be like some kind of Luddite type stuff, right? They'd just be rejecting the technology more than the people.
Yeah, I think as well they could even get to a stage where they have sexless human beings, or sexless human creatures.
Yeah, you could. Yes.
Where like if you're choosing from a catalog or whatever, even if you don't even get the chance to choose now, the government just creates more people whenever it has a
requirement.
okay.
Or the corporation.
We need more
or
mining.
whatever.
We need more mining people, so they make more mining people.
That's
to
kind
make
of the Blade Runner thing, right?
Yeah, kind of. Except they're androids, but
Yeah.
it's similar, right?
Yeah. Well, I think a Blade Runner. I think in the Alien series say they're actually like androids, but I think in Blade Runner they're just humans, but with like genetic modifications to make them loyal, and they're extra.
The Blade Runners.
Yeah, they've made their muscles extra strong and all that, but I think their anatomy is supposed to still be largely human, because they have skeletons, they've hearts.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're talking about movies.
Yeah, sorry. This is the third movie reference we're having here.
Well, that's interesting, because this is a topic that comes up a lot in fiction, right? So it's clearly something that people think about quite a bit.
Yeah, and usually when movies bring it into the popular domain, it gets achieved more readily, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like Star Trek
course,
with the mobile phones.
2001: Space Odyssey came out a year before they landed on the moon.
Exactly, and then you're like, okay, because it's romanticized in movies, that it becomes more acceptable as well.
Yeah, it garners public opinion.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. But yeah, I think there'll be a lot more objectivism, and that could be good.
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming you don't mean objectivism in terms of Ayn Rand philosophy. You just mean like objective truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No. Do you want to explain that?
Objectivism. It's kind of difficult one to explain, but it's like so Ayn Rand was a philosophy writer in I think the 60s, originally from Russia. So she was, but their family moved to America, and she was highly anti-communist. But it was very much about objectivism was it kind of naturally lended itself towards capitalist thought, very individualist, like hyper individualist. And the whole idea was that you would produce a good society by everybody working to achieve the best for themselves. Everybody would recognize that to achieve the best for themselves, society around them has to be a good society, and so there would be cooperation amongst everybody that wouldn't be forced by any outside body. Pretty much, it wouldn't be like you have to pay taxes. It's just everybody's hardworking and everybody recognizes.
Society could have that philosophy though as well. If it could almost become hive-mindish. If there's sexless human beings that the government controls who gets bred depending on what circumstance the world is going through.
Right. Yeah.
Then of course it would be. Or maybe you wouldn't even have the capacity to understand that philosophy.
Well,
You'd be trained in, like, because that creative thinking aspect would be one of the first things I think would go if the government had mandated it.
right.
Because
Well, even if corporations did, same thing.
yeah,
Right?
corporation, right? They'd be like
A central power, we should say.
a central
The
power.
best way to put it, I think. But also, I've lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah, well, with the sexist thing, I just wonder. This is also a topic that's been brought up with fiction a few times, but I wonder, would humans have, if you make sexless humans, would they have any drive?
Yeah,
Right.
I think did we discuss this on a previous podcast?
Maybe, yeah. I know. Well, I know I've discussed it with you before. I don't know if
Yeah.
I've done it on a podcast.
Pierce's philosophy on sex drive. Yeah.
Oh,
right?
I might never have actually talked about this before. On the
Really? Well,
podcast.
you go on.
Well, yeah. So well, it's not even necessarily a philosophy. It's just something I've observed, is that basically we're the whole point. It's not a philosophical purpose for life, but the purpose of life is to spread your genes. Right. That's why animals have evolved in different ways. Nature is trying to find the most effective method to replicate genes.
Of course.
Because genes just naturally self-replicate. That's their whole purpose. So it started off with little bacterium, and they just were replicating very basically by splitting and consuming energy, basically. But so over 3.5 billion years, we've evolved in all these complex ways, and it's found better and better ways of maintaining genes and replicate, or genes have found better ways of maintaining themselves and self-replicating themselves. So you myself, yourself, everybody, every human is basically we are a vehicle for our genes. In the most fundamental sense, we are a vehicle for our genes to spread.
Yeah.
All of your emotions, all of your thoughts, love, pain, anger, all of that is a tool used by your genetics to spread themselves and to keep themselves alive. And so it's a weird thing, and it's not true in the sense of we've consciously thought of this, but subconsciously, the entirety of civilization and everything we've built around us is to facilitate the transfer of genes.
Yes.
Right? Now, that's not a conscious thing. We didn't consciously create civilization because we were thinking, oh yes, I need to spread my genes, therefore I need to construct civilization.
Yeah.
But it's
like
our brain has emerged from genes wanting to spread themselves, and that brain has caused us to build all these things around us. But the only reason that brain exists in the first place is because the genes influenced nature to create that, to spread themselves.
Yeah.
So civilization, everything exists to facilitate the spread of genes.
Exactly. So we build a house, right? First of all, we went inside in caves and stuff because okay, it's safer, right? Well, why does safeness matter? It's because it's safer to raise a family there. Family spreading on genes.
The genes are
right.
likely to survive.
We're gonna farm food because it's safer to stay in one place than it is to do this. Why does safeness matter? Bam, bam, bam. And then we eventually build this huge construction of society and interconnected, like weird social structures and interconnected services and transfer of goods. And really all it's doing is being very convenient for us to get good nutrition and then raise a family. And raising a family is passing on of genes. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
And I should say, whether this applies whether you're religious or not, unless you're just some fundamentalist who doesn't believe in evolution at all.
Yeah.
But if you're a religious person who believes that God created nature, then God created these genes and put these imperatives in the genes to cause us to do this. So this is this isn't a necessarily like atheistic standpoint. This is just describing what happens in our biology.
Yeah. So the sexless society, where people are made and not created.
Yeah.
A slight difference.
And they've that's the big thing. People have no compunction to reproduce.
Yeah.
Right. Could you even edit that out?
I don't know. Because then would you lose humans?
Genes, it wants to self-replicate.
Yeah. Would they be anything? Would they be crazy? But it's the thing, okay, look at bees, right? Bees don't have the need to reproduce, right? There's the queen bee, she does.
She reproduces, yeah.
All the other people just facilitate the reproduction of the queen. And then drones, I think, are the male bees who reproduce with them.
Worker bees are all female and the drones are male, yeah.
Exactly, so there's a huge network of bees working just to facilitate that. So would we be able to rationalize that to be like, okay, well, we're just going to build a society, make it great, and do all this kind of stuff to facilitate this factory of human reproduction, right?
You'd have
Could
to
we
create
have
something.
that hive
Yeah,
mind?
yeah. But you'd see
Because
that
all those bees don't care about reproduction. They know that there's reproduction going on, and that's
yeah.
fine.
The hive mind only works though because they don't have high level brain function, right?
Why do we need to have high level brain
No,
function?
but that's what I'm saying. Can,
Okay.
you, can you make a human that doesn't have high level brain? Like,
Yeah.
you know, probably not, right? Because you need, our bodies are quite complex, so you need a powerful brain in order to maintain them. But bees are.
It's like evolutionary regression, right?
Yeah.
De-evolution or whatever. You could de-evolve the
You
brain.
could, yeah. It's Aldous Huxley talks about this in Brave New World. Very interesting book. Highly recommend that to anybody who's listening. Brave New World. It's the other dystopia that's not as well known. That's similar to 1984 in its bleak outlook, but takes a different approach. And so the whole idea in that is there's, as we were talking about earlier, the society has come to a point, and this was actually pretty impressive for him to write because he was writing this back in the 30s. Society has come to a point where a lot of the science wasn't known yet. Like DNA wasn't known until the 60s.
Wow.
But a society has come to a point where selective breeding has created different levels of castes, and these castes fulfill different roles in society. So there's people who are almost brain dead, who are just like, they operate elevators and, just, whatever, just really, really menial tasks. And then you've got different levels of people with different intelligence and different physical capabilities. And the whole society is built around just maintaining happiness of the population. So everybody feels fulfilled because they're all doing a role that they're made for. And then at the top you have these, what are called alphas, as far as I remember.
See, that's just society now, except it's more random and less fair.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right, yeah.
So because people are born with IQs less than 70 or whatever, and like...
Or IQs over 160.
Yeah, but the difference is, in today's world, you could be born a genius, but not have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
And never
Although
even...
it is one of the best predictors of success.
It is, but it's
Unless
not...
you're just some born in Bangladesh.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed, right? And you could be born medium intelligence, but be trusted in a role that requires great intelligence, or like everybody would say requires great intelligence.
Yeah.
So then you don't do it effectively, as effectively, right? And it would lead to, I think it would lead to a lot of mental health issues with people who are like feel very trapped in their roles.
I think that's already happening, right? But
Yeah, that's what I
this
mean,
would
yeah.
amplify, right? But presumably you might be able to just modify the mental health issues out of someone's
Yeah.
brain, right? But yeah, I think that's happening now though, just because it's a really sad thing, but it's a good thing and a bad thing. Society is becoming obviously more and more automated, but it's the premium on intelligence is going up every year. So intelligence is becoming more and more valuable. It was always valuable that evolution selected it for intelligence in humans. That's why we have much bigger brains than any animals.
Yeah.
It got to a critical point, and it was just so effective at surviving that it reproduced. But now our society is doing a bit of a microcosm of that, where intelligence is on a big premium, and if you are of even relative high intelligence, you can get the good job, you can get the stable whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas wasn't always the case. For most of human history, people were hunting deer.
Yeah. The fact that you could be trapped in a role now
Yeah.
and feel like you have the opportunity to change really does hurt people, because they're, I was meant to be an artist. I was meant to do this. I was meant to do that. But in the new society, you wouldn't have that. You'd be like, okay, well, I'm an elevator operator. I was born an elevator operator. I am an elevator
Designed
operator.
to do this, yeah.
Exactly. So there wouldn't be
yeah,
that.
I see what you're saying now. It's like a destiny almost.
Exactly. There wouldn't be the level of discomfort that we have now.
Yeah. But then you can see people thinking, why did they birth me like this?
Well,
yeah.
Assuming they have the mental capacity to do
Right.
so.
And that was a thing in Aldous Huxley's.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It was that.
I haven't read it, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's very good. I would recommend it. And one of the interesting thing, it's not really a spoiler, but one of the main characters, there's a few main characters that it does from their different perspectives. One of the main characters, he didn't exactly grow properly, so he doesn't fit in fully into his cast. But I think as far as I remember, he was slightly more intelligent than everybody in his cast. But he's also like slightly more physically deformed. So he has all these existential worries about what's going on with him and how he doesn't exactly fit in, all this kind of stuff. So you have problems like that as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to understand then. Do the worries create meaning? Right, because you could have a destiny but no meaning. So you could be a fisherman in this, new world.
Yeah,
But does that mean you have meaning?
this brave new world.
It's brave new world.
Yeah. Well,
But
I get if you were constructing a highly authoritarian society like that, the idea would be that you would tell people from day one that is their meaning.
of course, you can tell people there's some meaning, but like realistically, you're just telling them that it's their purpose.
Yeah.
And you could resent
Yeah.
the system that you're born in. You could resent the way that you can only do one thing, even though you could be the best at it. It's like people forced into sports who are
Don't want to, yeah.
like really really good at sports. They could be a genetic beast. You know what I mean? They're like their family's like, look, you can't throw this away. You're so good at it. But realistically, they might not want to. Just like the people who are genetically modified to do great things might not want that.
Yeah. There's also the case, right? So this would sound very weird, but or like kind of counterintuitive. But if you've gotten to the point with this kind of technology where you've created the perfect society where everybody is happy, you've given everybody everybody is modified perfectly to fit their role in society. They're fulfilling it perfectly. They feel good about it. They feel like they're fulfilling their purpose. Everything. It just works perfectly.
Okay.
What's the point in continuing, right? This is like why there's no more problems to solve. So why is it being continued? Like all of the problems of society have been solved at that point. So why even bother keeping it going?
I don't know.
Right?
To improve.
So each individual might have a purpose, but does the human species have a purpose at that point?
Yeah, because I suppose the way reproducing is to improve.
Right, but if
you don't know what
you're improving, you're creating new circumstances, and that's going to knock people out of their purpose because there'll be new things and that existential worry, all that.
How would you even know where to improve? What would even be improvement? Like, we only consider things brilliant because we didn't think of them ourselves. Whereas, well, I don't know.
Yeah, weird, right?
You would just
What's
have
the point
to.
of it?
I don't know. You just probably have to stop, or you couldn't. Unless there was people deciding, steering the ship, and where to go, and I suppose you just trust them. But that's really bad as well. Isn't it?
Well, it would be a thought for them, right? It'd be a thought for the people who would be steering this hypothetical society.
As I said,
what's the purpose in continuing this? Because
that just leads to human demise. Whereas, I feel like if it was completely random, if humans did some stuff like, you know what I mean, that ended up killing them, not that we could think about it afterwards, but if we could, like, that's more fair and a better evolution than us getting to a point where we realize that we have no purpose and don't exist for anything and then just dying that way, right? Isn't that much better? And well, it's definitely a more romantic way to end the species, but
it's a more comfortable way to end it.
it's like, yeah, for sure, because you could feel like at least we died in the pursuit of something great, which is the progress of humanity. Whereas when you change humanity, you're just progressing. You're not even progressing.
Well,
you're just becoming more efficient, right?
I guess what we've hit on here is this: the eternal problem with the idea of a utopian society is if you ever reach the utopian thing, it's not utopian.
Yeah, but it's okay, right? It's like producing. Say we got the best phone going right now. Like, everybody agrees, all right, this is the best phone. There's nothing that can beat this phone. We just produce that for the rest of the time. That doesn't make sense, right? Because surely there's opportunity for progress.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like the difference is between the two scenarios there.
Well, there definitely is an opportunity for progress. I guess what we accidentally stumbled into here was the idea of a government where it's just you're fulfilling the purpose of people perfectly, and so would making this new technology even give people any more purpose? Like, what's the point? Right. Anyway, so yeah. Sorry, that's I was getting trapped in Aldous Huxley's line of thought. But anyway, yeah. In terms of genetic,
I think discomfort leads to change too.
Yeah, leads to genetic change as well.
Yeah, people don't progress, or some people progress the best when they're in a place where they don't belong. So to have people in places that they do belong in, maybe wouldn't lead to the type of change and type of creativity that we'd need.
Yeah, well, it certainly would stagnate.
Yeah.
But I wonder, so if we return to the original point, if you have a society where everybody can run as fast as Usain Bolt, punch as hard as Conor McGregor, and are as smart as John von Neumann, that would probably be, like, even though everybody's the same, I could see that being a really dynamic society. Because if you have the type of intelligence that some of the great geniuses have had, so much is going to be changing all the time. If you have 7 billion people who are that smart, the changes will be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unfathomable. It'd be like having an AI god, basically, except, you know, you don't even need the AI, it's just people.
How would anybody agree on anything though? If they were
Well, they might. Because
they could understand
they're
what
all highly
everybody meant.
intelligent and they all kind of operating on a similar wavelength. So they come to a conclusion. Oh, this is the best way to do this. Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, that is the best
Okay,
way to do this.
but to some of the most important and intelligent people disagree on stuff. Like,
Yeah,
so
for sure.
for you to say that they just come to an agreement on everything.
I guess I was thinking in terms of technological progress, right?
But even with technology,
Yeah.
technological
Or scientific
progress,
say.
yeah, even scientific progress, they're like, this is good, but is it morally good? You know, and then that brings into a philosophical question. Unless you could create people who understood the universe, then they could objectively know what's true.
Yeah. I do think you're more likely to have, if you have everybody of high intelligence, you're more likely to have similar morals across the board. I think. I'm not basing that on anything. I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, yeah, because life circumstance can affect, right? Obviously.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a very interesting one. Like that really went crazy off the deep end there,
Yeah,
didn't it?
well, it's a mad topic.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's something to think about. I think
Well, it's something that's coming. So
you have to think about it.
genetic modification. Yeah, I suppose that would be maybe a nice note to end on.
I think that's good.
A terrifying note. But just to say that obviously we're speaking in hypothetical terms here, but it appears to me that outside of, as usual with some of the predictors we're making here, outside of some catastrophic event, asteroid hits, nuclear war, you know, Yellowstone explodes, kills everyone, it seems like genetic modification is going to arrive and it's going to be something we have to contend with, and the ethical and philosophical implications are definitely going to be something we have to contend with. So better off to start now.
Yeah. Well, there we are. Listen, at the end of the day, it's night.
If you're sick, you won't be well.
Talk to you next time.
See you guys.